College football, talking about expanding to 16 teams. Would you like to have 9 conference games? Well, former SEC coach and now a Big Ten coach thinks that's a good idea. We're going to talk about that and recruiting. It'll be a big weekend in Tuscaloosa as Alabama tries to add to their class, and some of the biggest in-state targets are going to be in Tuscaloosa. We'll get into that as well. On Elephant in the Room, that's Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. We are brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Let's roll. All right, there he is. Well, we see him like he's trying to bear hug the screen. That's Jake Coker. Mick Gillispie. Good to see you guys today. What do you think about 9 conference games instead of 8 and 16 teams in the college football playoff? That's what Brett Bielema. Remember, he was at Arkansas. Was he wasn't coaching when you were in the league? I think he was after.
No, yeah, he was.
Was
yeah,
he?
He was. Yeah, he's the one. He drew a flag on Cam Robinson my senior year. You know, he gave him he flopped. He did the old LeBron James.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that.
Cam was like, what? They threw the flag, marched us back 15. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And earlier in that game, I threw a ball to Kenyon Drake, and I watched Bielema give Kenyon a little forearm shiver. And I was like, did I just see an SEC head coach do that? I was like, he's all about some sideline shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about 16 teams in the playoff, which I'm fine with. I mean, they've already made it to where they're letting teams in that probably don't belong in. So why not just have some more and make it a bigger tournament, and 9 conference games? We saw 10 conference games in the COVID season. It was a great season of football. I mean, every week Alabama had an excellent opponent. They obviously went undefeated. They won the national championship. It's not going to be like that every year.
Well, the problem is that the playoff, the inaugural year of a 12-team playoff. I mean, that was the biggest flop, and that was a way bigger flop than I ever thought it would have been. Mm-hmm. And again, everybody's gonna come to realize that SEC when you have SEC teams in there, it's going to be a lot more competitive. Well, either competitive or they're going to beat the hell out of higher seeds from different conferences. But at least you'll have a game. Last year you're watching teams play that have no business being in the playoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I guess that was kind of the outcome to me of the 16-team playoff or 12-team playoff was that there was going to be a bunch of teams. Basically, we used the playoff spots to go to teams that pretty much don't belong there, don't play a tough schedule, but have good records, instead of the most deserving teams. And it just, I don't know. I mean, look, the Arizona State games were great. I mean, that game against Texas was awesome. Boise State, though, and Arizona State shouldn't have buys. Indiana was, we knew they weren't any good, but they didn't play anybody. Then I shouldn't say any good. They were okay, but a 9th game could have put them up against someone better in their conference.
Yeah. I mean, of all the games played in that playoff last year, there was, just a few you can look back and remember, man, that was a pretty good game, or that was fun to watch. The majority of those games were, just blowouts or under control the entire time by the dominant team. I'm an SEC guy. I'm biased. I have more fun watching. I'd rather watch, Arkansas and Missouri play than I would, an out of conference, a USC and UCLA or a big,
right.
A big out of conference matchup, because in my mind, and I am biased, I think you roll out a mid-tier SEC team against a top-tier West Coast team, the SEC is going to win. that's just the way I think. And so, again, there's a lot of bias there, but I just think the SEC culture, puts these guys' performance at a higher level.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And also, when you play, when you play top tier teams week in, week out, and maybe not even top tier teams talent wise, like some of these teams are more talented, I think, than some of these mid tier SEC teams. But when you have that culture and that belief going into a game that you're going to physically just wear out your opponent, I mean, if you don't have that mentality playing an SEC team, and I've mentioned Arkansas on this podcast, I don't know how many times, but I mean, you're just going to get people that lean on you and just chop you down the entire game. And unless you're conditioned for that with nine in-conference games in the SEC, you're going to be kind of shocked by that. It's like the old Mike Tyson quote, you always got a plan until somebody punches you in the mouth. I mean,
is that what they say when you're doing insurance? like me with broadcasting. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I love the idea, though, of having one more marquee game. Although Bama's playing a schedule this year with the Florida State game and the Wisconsin game added to the SEC schedule, that is, it's one of the toughest. And I know that there's probably right now teams, conferences that are ranked higher, or teams that are ranked higher. As far as strength of schedule, I think that changes when the season starts. I think Wisconsin's going to be a good team. Florida State's going to be way better than they were last year. South Carolina's better than people think they are. I don't know about Missouri. I've never been a big Missouri believer, but they were a lot better than I gave them credit for last year. Bama's schedule's tough. So this would just make it more even as far as playing tough schedules. You can run from a tough schedule in college football because you can control so much of it. In the NFL, you don't get to control your schedule. College football, you pick teams.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I love the non-conference games. I mean, when I was playing, and again, I really hate making this comment because I do not like, I don't want it to come off as disrespectful to teams that aren't in the SEC or smaller schools.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you go to college and you want to play in the SEC, I mean, the reason you went to an SEC school is to play that SEC schedule. I mean, you've taken visits, you've seen what SEC schools are like. I mean, you understand that when you walk into a stadium on Saturday, everybody in that stadium, the people watching it on TV, the people standing outside the stadium tailgating during the game. I mean, all week, the focus of their weekend has been this game, and they love it, live for it. And that's the kind of environment you want to play in. When you have, I mean, again, and I love Florida State, but when we played the NC States, the Marylands, I mean, the stadium was not packed out. Like, I mean, there's a different focus and level of intensity in the SEC, and that's what you go to college to play for in the SEC. You want those type of environments as much as possible. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like an adrenaline high of making a big play in an SEC stadium.
Yeah.
And as a player, I think you want those games as often as possible.
What was it like the first time you made one of those big plays and heard the roar of Bryant Denny? And do you remember what happened?
Oh, man. Let me tell you, I've never done hardcore drugs, but I would imagine after throwing that touchdown against Georgia in Athens, I mean, I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. I mean, it was like a high that you can never explain. I mean, throw the ball, you're on the ground, and then you look up from the ground and you see Calvin Ridley catch it. It was the best feeling, one of the best feelings I've ever had. That, taking a knee after national championship. I mean, some of those big plays, man, you just, that feeling and that just the image you have in your head from that moment, I mean, it's like etched in your brain forever.
Yeah.
And again, I remember watching. I still remember where I was watching that Alabama Georgia game back when the funeral back in, was it 08?
I know I was there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember where I was watching that game, and thinking how cool it would be to go into that stadium and beat the hell out of Georgia like that, and 7, 8 years later to be able to go do that in person was, I mean, one of the most badass experiences I've ever had.
Yeah. Well, they're going back there this year. Guys, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Jake and I both love golf for different reasons, but we do like golf. He likes to play, and I like to go out and ride around on the golf carts. But look, you can do golf at Pearl River Resort, Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, and it really is the Augusta that you can play because you don't need a membership, but 2 fantastic courses. The Azaleas, the Oaks, they are multi-million-dollar facilities. You will absolutely love it. And I promise you're going to have a great experience there playing on that golf course. The clubhouse is awesome. We've stayed in the clubhouse. You can actually rent the clubhouse. When you do, you get a golf cart to drive around the entire time. You open your windows, and there you see, the green right out in front of your room. It's an hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham. Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, part of Pearl River Resort. And of course, you know about the table games and slots at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casino. Golden Moon has the sports book, and we appreciate them for being a part of Cover Crimson and obviously Elephant in the Room. We just saw the gang. We hung with the Chief, which was pretty cool. So, but I'm telling you, have a good. It's short. It's not far. It's a good experience. It's like a getaway without having to fly all the way out to Vegas. All right, Jake. Let's talk some recruiting. The Tide will host some of the country's best recruits. One of them is Jet Tamala, their brand new commitment 4-star quarterback, a big guy. You would know about this. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, and he's from Omaha, Nebraska. He played 1A football, but what I wanted to kind of ask you about, and I know your recruiting was legendary when you were playing, but do you remember somebody who recruited you when you were uncommitted? I guess you really didn't take visits because you went to Florida State, or someone that you really wanted to recruit that was coming in for these visits. And did you take part in these? Because it's a weekend for recruits, and Bama's going to have some of the best players in the country, but more importantly to me, in the state. Xavier Crowell, the Jackson 5-star, 4-star running back, is going to be there, depending on what service you look at. I guess he's a 4-star, but he would have been a 5-star had he stayed in the class of 27. Daria Morgan is a wide receiver from Alexander City, a 6'4", 220-pound wideout. This is another 5-star according to Rivals and 24/7 Sports. He's a must-get for Alabama. Auburn pushing hard for him. And then you got some guys, like Jet that are going to be there, like Chris Booker, the new offensive line commit out of Georgia. Do those guys that are commitments but are still recruits, do they help bring these other guys in? Are they just there having the same experience?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you know those guys, for me, I think I was the only recruit from Alabama to commit to Florida State in my class. I'm trying to think. I mean, we had a couple that were younger than me because we were the number 1 ranked recruiting class going in. I mean, at Florida State that year, I think we were the only guys from Alabama. After that, we had Chris Casher and Justin Shanks, and they tried to kind of get the Alabama guys to lend a hand when recruiting from your area. But I was kind of I guess I was kind of a fish out of water because I was from Alabama, and every other recruit seemed like everybody was from South Florida for the most part.
Right.
We had one guy from New Jersey. One of my best friends to this day. But outside of that, seemed like everybody was mostly from the state of Florida, and they all knew each other. And again, when I committed, I mean, I didn't follow many of the moving parts outside of me. I mean, I committed, and that was it. And told Jimbo and Coach Craig that, I'm committed. I don't need to come down there much anymore. Hey, man, I'm a homebody. I can stay at home and do my own thing. I don't need to come down there and see y'all every weekend. I'll be down there plenty after I enroll. So they got me to help out with Shank, our Shank, when he came to town, and then Ryan stole him from me. Which, hey, ultimately, I'm glad that happened.
You were trying to get Shank. He said he was committed to Florida State.
Yeah, he was, and he decommitted for reasons that weren't due to my official visit.
Right,
me being his host on the official visit.
No, he said it was family related, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's his story to tell, but that's his story to tell. But I mean, we had a lot of fun, and it's crazy, how all this works. I mean, I host him on his official visit. He ends up being one of my offensive linemen, and now we're, lifelong friends.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, it's crazy how it all works out. But they gave me a few. Heck, I just ran into Austin Golson, who ultimately ended up at Auburn. I had him on his official visit to Florida State. Now that I go through it, I was a pretty shitty salesman.
You're not anymore, though. Like, the funny thing is, you tell these stories, and I always think, like, okay, what happened between now and then? Because I've seen you at work. I mean, you're a great salesman now.
No, I mean, no, I did help with a couple guys, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. There's so many moving parts. Like, you just try to bring them in, show them a good time, and try to figure out what they like to do, get them involved with whatever they like to do on campus, and that could be a large array of things. But I mean, honestly, usually those visits, when you're with offensive linemen, get them around other offensive linemen, get a few beers, hang out, and get to know each other, and figure out what they want to do after a couple hours, and do whatever that is that makes their visit memorable.
Yeah, right.
But it's, again, those
Did
visits.
They take you fishing or hunting?
On my official visit, let's see, I went to the Clemson game in 2010, and my host was David Spurlock out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Ended up being a roommate of mine at Florida State, and we ended up at a dive bar not too far from the stadium.
Not too shabby.
I'm trying to remember exactly. Golly, I only went there a couple times while I was in school, but I remember Clemson fans walking in there, and as soon as they'd walk in there, every fan in the joint, because we beat them it was a Dustin Hopkins field goal at the end of the game, and now the stadium was packed out for that game.
Yeah.
But Dustin Hopkins hit a 55-yarder for the win, and man, that place exploded. And we ended up going, to this dive bar down kind of close to the stadium. And man, the Clemson fans would walk in there and they'd start the FLORIDASTATE, chant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they were walking through the Walk of Champions, except just a nightmare version of it.
I love that about college football, as long as it's in good fun, man.
Cool. They'd walk in and that chant would start. They'd get about halfway through the chant. Those Clemson fans would turn around and walk right back out. That was not opposing fan territory.
No, they need to stay out of that bar, huh?
Yeah, but it was funny as hell, man. I enjoyed it. I mean, that's what it was all about, really. I mean, you had a blast on the field playing, and practice was hell, but those times with your teammates and your boys was like the best part of it,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like there's this staff's done an excellent job recruiting. I'm not complaining. I just would like to see them to knock down those players in the state of Alabama, and they're trying their best. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Tank Jones is the Ezekiel Crowells, talking about those guys. Morgan, you mentioned him just a second ago. And there's some more, but why is it that it's so important to keep the elite players from the state at the University of Alabama?
Well, because you want guys that want to play at Alabama, and it's not all about the NIL. I mean, and at this point in time, that's probably the most critical thing is finding guys that will take less money to play for a school that they feel loyal to, and not because of anything that Alabama's done for them currently, but because it's a lifelong memory. Much like me, you remember games. I mentioned the blackout game at Georgia in 07 or 08, and you want to come be a part of that. And your love for those memories and creating those memories at Alabama carry more weight than maybe an extra $100,000.
Yeah, right. Well, that's that, and that's the
to me,
crux today, man. It's about the money. Arlington, one of the top players in the country, had Bama high on its list. Texas A&M with the cash, and he's going to go to Texas A&M. And it's hard to argue about that. I mean, look, that's the way most businesses work. I mean,
yeah. Well, to me though, and sports and football, I mean, there's no shortcut to getting a bigger payday. Like you either perform on the field or you don't. And Alabama gives you that platform to really create a name for yourself. I mean, I don't know how much Ryan Williams is making right now, but I mean, that play he made against Georgia to win the game that set him up for a lot of opportunity. And that was the most watched game that weekend, and it may have been the most watched game of the year.
Yeah.
I know that's a game that we'll all remember as Alabama fans, and Georgia fans will remember it as well. But that creates that's a life-changing opportunity for him.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you get a guy who's not, what would scare me about a guy who's all about NIL money up front tells me that, that same guy is probably going to be pretty easy. It's going to be easy for him to just up and leave for the next highest bidder. Like, is this guy going to take less because he believes in himself and he's going to put the work in and make plays to create a name for himself? Or is he looking for money right now because there's a little doubt in his mind whether he can get it later on due to his performance?
Right.
And so, I mean, that to me, and even good players, I would expect them to expect some money up front to get there. Like, I mean, I would feel the same way. Like, to me, that would be a gauge of, well, how much do you want me? And then you meet the coaches, find out if it's a good fit. And at some point, like, if I love this school, I love these coaches, they're honest with me and what kind of pay structure we're moving forward with, then I'll go here because I feel like this is the best. This is going to set me up for future earnings and a future success on and off the field. And the money will come if you perform.
That's right. Guys, I want to tell you that we are brought to you by Residence Inn by Marriott, Ocean City, Maryland. They are back-to-back champions of the Coastal Style Hotel of the Year. Well, it's an award that you win for being a fantastic hotel. They won their first one in 2020, and they've done nothing but get better. Our friend Keith there will take great care of you. It's right near the boardwalk in Ocean City, some great restaurants. I was telling someone about the Green Turtle yesterday, which is one of my favorite Ocean City restaurants. But steamed crabs, if you like seafood, they got amazing seafood there. The views are amazing. The boardwalk's awesome. The beaches are great, and you'll love it. And it's a different experience than what you get at our beaches, and so you may want to try something different. Keith's an Alabama guy. He'll take great care of you. And honestly, the hotel view, Dunaway, Brown, and LT were all there recently. They loved it. I want to take Coker there. I want it. I think it's called like the Blue Marlin Challenge. You and I go float in, watch those guys bring in those blue marlins. Be great.
What, they have a fishing tournament like every is that
there's
big
one that's in
tournament?
Maryland, yeah. Because you've been in like a freshwater guy, and I think we need to fix you of that habit. I needed to take you out on the boat to catch some snapper, some redfish and stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean I grew up on Dog River, so I mean we used to do it, but now that I've gotten older and I know what kind of a headache a boat is, I'll just I'll take an invite. But I'm not funding that hobby.
No, you can ride on mine. Hey, another thing too is you want to look good this year for football season. Rowback's got you covered. Crimson 20. That is our promo code to Rowback, and each email address gets you that 20% off. So you probably have to do it a few times. But use our promo code, get yourself fixed up. I actually have that hoodie. They have a great collection of Bama stuff, but they have all kind of stuff there. One of the best sites as far as themed clothing goes. You know, Jake's loves the red, white, and blue of the USA. They have some really cool, USA themed shirts, Masters, a bunch of state stuff. Really anything you can think of, like they've turned it into a shirt, and the shirts are comfortable and durable, and they're great on the golf course.
No, that's right. Hey, anything with the stars and bars, that's Jake's. Jake's got his name written all over it.
Hey, if you guys want to catch us, even not on YouTube, but you can always go to the Cover Crimson network, podcast network on Apple, Spotify, all those different places to get our podcast. And we are brought to you every show by Pearl River Resort. Talked about them already in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're about to have our first heat wave. I don't know if you saw that. Geyser Falls Water Park might be a good place to go hang out right there at Pearl River Resort, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham. Well, you have a great weekend, my friend.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one. Gonna be my 1-year-old turned two today. So.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. Couple celebrations this weekend,
That's great.
Also, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard to believe. Time is moving fast.
Yeah, sure is. Man. Well, we'll catch you next week, and roll tide, everybody. Thanks for being here.
To Pearl River Resort.